Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Jose Betancourt, and as always, I appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. So here I have a bunch of PlayStation VR games on screen so you can view while I rant. I want to rant about the PlayStation 4 Pro and the critique is receiving by those who never played it or don't even plan on playing one or picking one up. Now, I understand that some people are unoriginal and they depend on basically feeding on what's hot. So they're going to criticize the new hotness. And in this case, it's the PlayStation Pro. A few weeks ago, it was the PlayStation VR. People who didn't play the PlayStation VR or had no intentions of picking one up made the most noise about the PlayStation VR. The same thing is happening with the PlayStation Pro. And it's comical because we've had the embargo lifted for reviews, and now I don't have a review unit. I'm gonna pick one up just like everybody else on Thursday. But the reviews, for the most part, have been positive. They all basically say the same things, that there are legitimate upgrades to the video games that are patched. Now remember that games need to be utilized for the PlayStation Pro in order for you to see a difference. Some reviewers have even stated that the PlayStation VR will also get a performance boost in some of its features and the games themselves. So there are legitimate reasons to pick up a PlayStation Pro. I've seen a lot of people, once again, who have no intention of picking one up or playing one, that all of a sudden can give you legitimate reasons as to why you shouldn't pick one up or why the PlayStation Pro is a waste of time. And I find it comical because if you think that the PlayStation 4 Pro has no place in the market, then you got to say the same thing about the Xbox Scorpio when it comes out, because both of these are mid-generation upgrades and they're both going to appeal to a certain demographic. And in this case, like Mark Cerny and Andrew House stated, the PlayStation 4 Pro is for those who want to take advantage of their 4K display. As a matter of fact, even those who still have a 1080p, which is the majority, even those people will see a performance boost in video games. Now, once again, the games need to be utilized. They need to be patched for the PlayStation 4 Pro. But this is meant for the high-end user. So is the Scorpio. And all those questions, because every review that I've read had that question. Like, who is this for? Should you get it now? Should there be more support instead of only 30 plus games? I believe close to 60 or something like that by the end of the year will be PlayStation Pro patched or enhanced. That's a lot of freaking games. And who the hell is going to play 60 games from now until the end of the year? So come on, people. Be realistic here. You know, have some sense. Especially in the holiday season with all these new games coming out. Who's going to really sit there and say, oh man, only 30 plus games were patched for the PlayStation Pro? I already flew through all of them. I can't wait for more. There's no reason for me to own this game. You know, I mean, it's just that's the type of mentality that is out there. But if these questions are here for the PlayStation Pro, they're going to be here for the freaking Xbox Scorpio, because that is meant for a high-end user as well. It is not meant for the general population of Xbox owners. Now, there's close to 50 million PlayStation 4 owners out there, and a few are going to jump over to the Pro. 50 million people aren't going to upgrade to the PlayStation Pro, and Sony expects that. That's a realistic outlook. But not to these fanatics. There's going to be people that are going to say, oh, it only sold 1 million or whatever, and laugh and be like, oh, it's a failure. Haha. Same thing is going to happen with the Scorpio, dudes. That's whatever's happening, all the questions, all the negativity, or the skepticism, that will happen when Scorpio is here. Whether it's from Xbox or PlayStation fanatics, or from the reviewers themselves, those same questions are going to rear their head. So Microsoft has the advantage of seeing the reception the Pro is going to get. But let's stick with the PlayStation Pro and the negative Nancy's that are out there trying to downplay exactly the significance the PlayStation Pro is going to give to video games and the industry as a whole, because we have the most powerful console in the market. There's no denying that. This is the most powerful home video game console that has ever been built. Obviously, that's how technology is built. You know, the technology gets better and better with each iteration of a product. So the same way Apple says this is the most powerful iPhone ever built, well, you know, duh. So we have the most powerful console in the PlayStation 4 Pro. It is not replacing the most popular console in the market, which is the PlayStation 4, but it's going to give owners who or potential PlayStation 4 buyers, it gives them the option to step up their game, literally, because you're going to get a performance boost. You're going to get a proprietary rendering system that Mark Cerny helped to build. You don't see anybody doing that on the Xbox side. I mean, can they? You know, Microsoft has always been about software. Can they come up with their own rendering system? Why couldn't they come up with a better way to utilize upload sharing? You know, Mark Cerny and his crew. Mark Cerny's the architect of the PlayStation 4. He made things extremely easy for the owners of the PlayStation 4. Whether it's sharing your video games with another player in real time, okay? Sharing your video game, letting them play your game with somebody else from any part of the country or any part of the world. Or uploading your video that you made, putting voice over, putting effects. You can easily share that straight from the console with a few touches of the buttons, with a few touches of a few buttons. The Xbox, that feature is there, but you have to jump through hoops and you got to go through a very sluggish operating system. So why am I bringing that stuff up? Because that has a lot to do with the success of the Pro and the success of the Scorpio. Because the Scorpio is still a year away. The Pro is here. So by the time the Scorpio actually hits the market, and let's say in 2017 at E3, they finally reveal what the Scorpio looks like. They show off a few games. They need to. They absolutely need to. Maybe even before that. So 2017, at some point, we're going to see, you know, a preview event of the Scorpio. We're going to see power. But that power needs to be used the right way. You could put a supercharger on a Ford Focus, but you know what? It's still a Ford Focus. You know what I mean? You need the right suspension. You need freaking campers. You just can't put a supercharger in any car and expect it to run better. More has to go into it. The operating system needs to be fluid. That is, in my opinion, the biggest thing Microsoft needs to concentrate, especially when they bring out the Scorpio. The Scorpio needs to fix a lot of things on the Xbox One. And the biggest thing is the operating system. That is the first thing people see when they turn on the Xbox One. So fix that operating system, make it fluid, make things easily accessible. Then, with the video games, have all of your exclusives be Scorpio ready, whatever that means. Don't just bring out, hey, this is this version of Gears of War 4 is going to be rendered in 4K, and that's it. Sony is obviously doing something where they're giving you the option, for example, Tomb Raider. They give you the option to have maximum settings and visuals at 30 frames per second, or you can have 60 frames per second at 1080p. That's still better than what we currently have on the PlayStation 4 or Xbox One. Games like Battlefield 4, they run, not Battlefield 4, Battlefield 1, they run at 900p on the PlayStation 4 and 720 or something like that on the Xbox One. That is unacceptable, and we've been complaining about that. But for me, I bought those games. I actually had Battlefield 4 on the Xbox One and PlayStation 4. The games were still enjoyable, so I really didn't give a crap because they still looked better than anything on the PlayStation 3 or the Xbox 360. And of course, that's an advancement in my gaming experience, so I wasn't going to complain. But now we have the option, and that's what these are. The Scorpio is an option. The PlayStation 4 Pro is an option. This is not replacing the Xbox One S or the PlayStation 4. The PlayStation 4 still has the larger demographic. It still has more third-party support. It still has more exclusive, more variety, and it still has the market share all around the world. So a few extra teraflops, in this case 6 teraflops versus 4.2, a 1.8 difference, that ain't gonna do shit. I'm sorry. Support and new management. You need new management, because if the same regime is running the Xbox Scorpio, it's not gonna matter if you have 12 teraflops on the Xbox Scorpio. If the games aren't there, then why even bother buying a Scorpio? See, at least with the PlayStation Pro, you have an abundance of exclusives that are currently out, and then that are coming out. You look at December till I believe March, you have exclusives on the PlayStation 4 coming out. Horizon, that's gonna have, I believe it's gonna have some development with the PlayStation 4, or it's going to be like some real big enhancements with the PlayStation 4 Pro. Not 100% sure. That's coming out in March, I believe, or February. So, what's coming out on the Xbox side? Nothing. Cuphead, we still don't even know when that's coming out. Crackdown 3, I'm sure that's going to have some development time with the Scorpio, because it needs it. The Scorpio, there has to be a game that is built around the Scorpio's power, that gives people a reason to switch. I have an Xbox One, and I'm going to hold off, because you know why? The people that are running the Xbox division, they told me before the Xbox One was released that the Kinect was not going to be, that the Xbox One and Kinect would never be apart. That in order to get an Xbox One, you're going to have to accept the fact that the Kinect is a crucial part of the console. It is a big part of the plan that they have with the Xbox One. And lo and behold, 6 months or so down the line, they got rid of the Kinect. They allowed you to buy an Xbox One without the Kinect, and they were giving you free games. So I lost out. I had to buy the freaking what was it, $500 version of the Xbox One that came with the Kinect, and buy some games. I lost out, because 6 months later, I see Titanfall and other games being given away for free if you bought the version of the Xbox One without the Kinect. And ever since then, I say, you know what? I'm not gonna freaking trust a word that these guys say. Their freaking their word has really, not. And I'm not talking about. I almost said Mark Cerny. I'm not talking about Phil Spencer. This was before Phil Spencer took over, but a majority of that team is still there. Major Nelson, Aaron Greenberg, Albert Pinello, who currently stated that the Xbox One S can do native 4K. So, I don't know. The Xbox One brand is like a frat boy mentality, and they're fanatics. They're, and you know what? I'm a big fan of the Xbox brand, and that's why I critique it, because it's tough love. It's stuff that I want to see rectified, and I'm sure the true Xbox fan feels the same way I do. When you see executives like Aaron Greenberg interacting with a fan base that has wished that Respawn went out of business because their game Titanfall 2 is now available on PS4 and Xbox One. They're happy that it didn't sell as well as Titanfall, the first one, Titanfall 1. They're happy about that, and they'd rather see them go out of business. I mean, how ridiculous is that? And then you have your executives talking with them, interacting with them on Twitter, where anyone can see that. How is that representing your brand? How can you trust someone who's supposed to be running? And I met Aaron Greenberg in person a few times. And when I say they have that frat boy mentality, I'm not bullshitting. Doesn't make him a bad guy, but it seems like he fell for this whole console war thing, and now you're seeing advertisements about 6 teraflops. You've seen Microsoft stating that the Xbox Scorpio is the only console to do native 4K. Yeah, where is the Xbox Scorpio? I don't see it. Where? I haven't seen proof that it can do it. Now, how am I supposed to believe you when you told me that the Kinect would never be taken out of the box? You know, that we had to accept the Kinect as being an integral part of the overall scheme and plan for the Xbox One. And now it's nowhere to be seen. You need a freaking adapter if you want to have it on your Xbox One S. So the not the Scorpio, but the Kinect has been punted into a river. I should punt mine into a freaking river. I still have mine. I don't even use it. I forget it's there. I don't use it unless somebody mentions it, which is weird because it's facing me every time I look at my TV. But that's how little I wanted it. But I had to accept it. I said, well, they told me I can't have it, an Xbox One without a Kinect. I have to go with their plan. I have to trust their plan, and I'm going to buy it. And I did, and I regret it. Because that was an extra $100 I could have saved and got some free games 6 months later and buy more games or another controller. Anyway. But back to the PlayStation Pro. I'm looking forward to getting mine. I'm going to have a podcast with a few PlayStation 4 Pro owners. So expect that. That'll be on my iTunes feed and on my YouTube channel as well. And you're going to get an honest review. You're not going to get a bunch of guys who don't own a PlayStation 4 Pro, don't plan to own a PlayStation 4 Pro. You're not going to get a bunch of us talking about something we don't want or don't own. None of us are going to be bashing the Scorpio because it's nowhere to be seen. So we have no idea what to expect with the Scorpio. Me, I'm going to wait, as I stated, till I see irrefutable proof that Xbox One games are going to be utilized on the Scorpio. Whether it's similar to the way the Pro is going to utilize current PlayStation 4 games or future games. Or maybe the Xbox Scorpio is going to have enough raw horsepower to not have to depend on checkerboard rendering and creative ways to basically fool us into thinking it's 4K. And that's another thing, really quick. I hear so many people talking so much about technical specs, frames per second, drawing distance, depth of field, teraflops, floating points. I mean, when the hell did this become part of the video game culture? Like, why are people suddenly talking about this? I guarantee that I can go to some of these fanatics, and it doesn't have to be an Xbox fanatic. It could be a PlayStation 4 fanatic, because I've heard a few, not as much on the as on the Xbox side, but I've heard a few PlayStation enthusiasts who have bragged about 8 teraflops and things like that. Now, gaming has never been about tech specs. That was always left to the developer. That was always left up to the people that know what the hell they're doing. Not for us to be analyzing, this runs at 49 frames per second and anti-aliasing. You know, come on. Grow the hell up, man. Who the hell do you think you are to be analyzing a hobby that when you were growing up, you had no idea what those freaking keywords or buzzwords in this case, you had no idea what they meant. Now all of a sudden you're basing your experience on these few keywords? I actually saw somebody say, well, if it's not 30 frames per second, no, actually, if it's not 60 frames per second, I cannot play it. Come on, man. That is some pompous shit, man. And I don't want to curse, but come on. I mean, when you were playing Super Mario, did you care about frames per second? Were you analyzing pixels? Were you pixel counting? Were you sitting there saying, well, I saw a slight stutter in the UI, and I'm taking this back? No. When you were playing Super Mario, you were in freaking heaven. You were amazed. You were having fun. That's the key word, man, is fun. And if you can't have fun playing video games, then you're not a fun person to be around. If you're too busy analyzing a freaking video game instead of playing it, then maybe get a different hobby. Maybe get a job in the video game industry because you suddenly think that you're a freaking expert. So you suddenly think you're a freaking developer. So if you have the capacity to sit there and count frames per second, talk about anti-aliasing and talk about whether it's true or native 4K and blah blah blah, maybe you should be working in the video game industry as a freaking developer. But guess what? You're not a developer, so you should shut the hell up. Because if you weren't doing this when you first began playing video games and suddenly you're an expert in how video games should be running and what's lacking. I mean, I could look back at Pac-Man and I could be like, you know what? A true story was lacking in Pac-Man. That game sucked. Facts. I see that a lot. Not about Pac-Man, but I see that word facts thrown all over the place. Pac-Man is one of the most memorable video games experience I've ever had, whether it was on the Atari or in the arcades. Q*bert has no story. Q*bert has, when you look at Q*bert now, it doesn't hold up well. Simple gameplay, but you know what? It was tough as hell. And guess what? I had over 4 million points in Q*bert when I was, 10 years old? I broke the record in my neighborhood. If I tried, and I had this discussion with my brother, if I tried playing Q*bert now, I would absolutely suck. And my brother went to a video game, to an arcade. It was a bar in Manhattan, in the Lower East Side. I believe it's called 2 Bits. And he was telling me that they have a bunch of retro video games, arcade cabinets, and they still cost $0.25. He said he was trying to play, I believe it was Galaga. I think it might have been Galaga or no, Donkey Kong. He said he had a hard time passing he couldn't pass the first level of Donkey Kong. He said it was so hard. He's like, how the hell did we freaking play so good when we were younger? So just imagine that my brother, who still plays video games, not as much as I do, could not get past the first level of Donkey Kong. A game that is over 30 years old. And some of these games, you can freaking breeze through them on the hardest level. They practically babysit you. Why don't people complain about that? Why don't people complain about difficulty? Why don't people complain about too many tutorials that hold your hand when you're playing a video game? Or longevity. Some games are short. But no, people want to concentrate on teraflops and frames per second. I mean, come on, man. Man, I would hate to, for those people that talk that way or pretend to know what the hell they're talking about, that aren't going to Wikipedia and reading this shit and then reiterating it. They call themselves, review tech, and then they don't know what the hell they're talking about. Not that I'm shouting anybody out, but imagine having to talk to that person in real life, or imagine going on a date with these people. I don't know how many of them are really dating, but imagine having to be interacting with somebody who doesn't want to just go with the flow, enjoy the moment. They're too busy analyzing everything. Imagine going to a movie and having somebody sit there and you're watching. And it happens with movies too, where people are like, that comic book movie was too comic book-y. I've heard that about Batman vs. Superman, by the way. Just the sheer fact, you don't have to like Batman vs. Superman as a movie, but you have to appreciate the fact that you have Batman and Superman in and Wonder Woman all together in one freaking movie, fighting together against freaking Doomsday. You have to appreciate that, whether you like the movie or not. Same thing with the PlayStation 4 Pro. You have to appreciate what Sony's doing with their proprietary checkerboard rendering where even the reviewers have stated they had a hard time distinguishing whether it was native or checkerboard rendered. That is impressive in itself. You don't have to buy it. You don't even have to like Sony, but you have to appreciate the ingenuity, the fact that they're thinking out of the box, trying to provide us, the gamer, something that we can use on our brand new 4K televisions that looks incredible and looks way better than we currently have available right now. But no, people don't appreciate that. And that goes on with everything around the world, no matter what. You see more negative being highlighted, being showcased than positive. Somebody could rescue a baby from a burning car. That will be overshadowed by some idiot rapper scratching his nuts in front of the zoo or something. You know, it's just stupidity. It's all over the place. It's definitely in this video game community. Thankfully, those idiots are very small spec, but unfortunately, they have the loudest mouths, and those loud mouths attract the attention of developers. We see a lot of developers interacting with them, arguing with them. If everybody ignores them, they go away. But unfortunately, in today's society, negativity attracts a lot of people. It attracts a lot of people, and this is just not about video games. This is just overall society. And unfortunately, in this culture, video game culture that I grew up in, it's, you know, thankfully, when I take a step back and I look at it as a whole, thankfully, it's still a beautiful place, still a freaking amazing, it's still filled with amazing people. But then you go into Facebook or Twitter and you see the vermin that, or YouTube. YouTube is you see a lot of trash on YouTube, and they're bashing something. So I don't know. I'm basically done ranting here, and I apologize for not having anything solid to talk about. I definitely look forward to my PlayStation Pro. I'm going to be off on Friday, so I'm going to have, once I get out of work, I'll pick my PlayStation Pro up, and I'll have an entire evening and day, or weekend, as a matter of fact, to play all of these amazing-looking video games that will only be available on the PlayStation brand. Unfortunately, Xbox fanatics have to wait till next year. So, that's one fact that nobody can take away. And, I do apologize to those who are loyal to the Xbox brand. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just, I'm speaking to the people that have gone on this smear campaign for anything that is Sony. Whether it's the PlayStation VR, or the PlayStation Pro, or the PlayStation 4 for that matter. Those are the people I'm talking about. Me, I support the Xbox. I have an Xbox. I've been a Xbox MVP for 3 years, consecutive. I've been at the campus. I know people that work at Microsoft for Xbox. So I know what I'm talking about when I talk about Microsoft. And when I say that I'm one of those that want to see the brand improve, and I don't appreciate what the behavior of some of their executives, when I say all that stuff, it's because I mean it. I mean it. I'm not just trying to get clicks. But anyway, as I stated, there'll be a full podcast with a bunch of people reviewing the PlayStation 4. Reviewing the PlayStation 4 Pro. That'll be up next week. Hopefully next Monday or so. Or, who knows, maybe during the weekend we could do a quick roundtable or a discussion. But anyway, as always, I'm Jose Betancourt, and I appreciate you taking the time to watch my videos. I'll be talking to you soon.